It's no secret that companies try to roll things out, and along the way, they're going to make some mistakes. Every now and then, a company tries something new, markets the shit out of it, only to watch it flop like a fish out of water. And I'll give you a couple examples about this in a minute. But most of the time, companies try to do some damage control afterwards. Most try to correct the mistake in numerous ways, usually by listening to the customer. So do you think Bungie would go that route? Nah, fuck that. They went the opposite route of fixing something by fucking up even more than a YouTube auditor fucking themselves with their favorite dildo. So here's the story, and I have referred to this a few times so far in my videos. To level up your gear, you need quite a bit of materials to do so, and the one piece that has been hard to come by is masterwork cores. People who didn't play all year long didn't stock up on these suckers, and now they're finding them incredibly rare in the game to find and use. To level up your best guns and gear, you need to use masterwork cores as part of the process, and rightfully so. This pisses some people off. Now, I initially said in my review video that this is not terrible, but it was a costly endeavor. I know at some point the economy was going to need a change because the price of ranking up using the weapons that you want outweigh the resources of the game. However, people don't need to infuse their 550 shotgun to be 555 immediately. My philosophy was to wait at least 10 levels to infuse something that you want to keep around, such as maybe the Sleeper, the Whisper, the Icolo shotgun, but that's just me personally. I also happen to have a massive stack of Masterwork cores, and that was all before Forsaken launched. This was part of the fact that I played for so goddamn long, so I collected this shit. I had well over 600 of those fucking things, and that's already dropped down to under 400 just after this DLC. I also have about 100 pieces of year one gear in the vault that is also masterworked, and I could dismantle that for a shitload more cores. So for me personally, the economy isn't an issue. But for other people though, yeah, it's fucked up. It's difficult to get a 590 rocket with shit perks, but you can't bump up your Sleeper because you don't have the resources to do so. Bungie recognized this, and they addressed this last week and then this week at Bungie Post. However, they didn't exactly address the issue the way you would expect. First, they acknowledged that the drop rate of the acquisition methods of Masterwork cores is pretty shitty. Fine, they'll fix that. But we know their fix will still be something that's underwhelming. Why do we know that? Because the next part of their solution is just so brain-fuckingly stupid. They're going to rename them. Really? That's your fucking solution? Aside from increasing the methods of acquiring them, you want to rename them to show their purpose? What the fuck are they gonna name this shit? Bullshit-ass economic item? My left nut to upgrade this fucking gun? That doesn't change the problem. The problem isn't just the amount or even the goddamn name of the fucking thing. It's the fact that ranking up in the form of power levels shouldn't be dependent on the game economy. It should be dependent on your gameplay. Right now, there are certain weapons that are viable for endgame activities. Things like the Sleeper, the Whisper, the Worm, the Tractor Cannon, the Midnight Coup, Bygones, Chattering Bone. You can't beat the Shattering Throne dungeon with a fucking sword. It's just not happening. You're not beating Riven with a sidearm and an SMG unless you have a fucking rocket launcher. You need the best guns in the game, and for the most part, the economy is cruel to those who have not played massive amounts of hours hoarding shit like I have. The original use of Masterwork cores wasn't to upgrade your guns, it was to make them into the best possible version you can have. Maybe you wanted more range, maybe you wanted more stability, maybe you wanted to roll for something better. You can also have 2 orbs drop every time you get some kills. This was the purpose of Masterwork cores. Now, they changed the whole purpose without actually telling people. So what in the fuck does renaming them do to your problem? That doesn't solve a problem, it just masks the issue entirely. Now imagine if historical flops that companies have had over the years tried some shit like this. Think about this for a second. There have been some historically colossal fuck-ups by companies that made mistakes with a product or an idea, and those who tried renaming the problem didn't fucking solve the problem. I mean, just look at some of these bonehead fuck-ups that have happened in the past. The ultimate fuck-up will forever be McDonald's Arch Deluxe Burger. Those old enough to remember that shit, where Mickey D's basically took a quarter pounder and they added more fucking toppings. They added bacon, a peppercorn dressing, they put a new fucking bun on the motherfucker. Then they spent millions of dollars marketing the shit as something that kids won't like that will be an adult taste. Yeah, that shit didn't work out. Did they turn around and change the name of that shit? Of course not. They dropped the Arch Deluxe and we never heard from it again. McDonald's main rival, Burger King, also had a more recent disaster with these Satis Fries, a healthier version of French fries. Huh? Because French fries can be healthier? Fuck that shit, man. They invented a fry that won't absorb too much oil and said it will taste the same, but they charge more money for that shit. Well, people didn't like the new fucking things, so did Burger King change the name to the fucking thing? No, of course not. They just got rid of it. Coke is probably one of the most famous fuck-ups when it came with new Coke. Back in the 80s, Coke wanted to gain some customers back from Pepsi that they were losing, so they decided to change their soda formula. And they advertised this new formula was going to take over. People didn't like it. Basically, they forced Coke to go back to the old formula of Coca-Cola, but they didn't want to piss away that new joint. So what did they do? They created Coca-Cola Classic with the old formula and New Coke with the new formula. So you have the old and the new, but that shit still didn't sell well. Didn't fucking matter what they called it. The shit sucked. They ended up having to drop New Coke over the years. Moving away from foods, you have some stupid ass ideas like Zune from Microsoft. I mean, their attempt to compete with iPod years ago, back when iPod was hotter than a spoon at Demi Lovato's house. Too soon? Oh, come on, man. Y'all know you enjoy a good heroin joke in this motherfucker. Either way, Zune got laughed off the market. Quite literally, laughed the fuck out of existence. It was a piece of junk, and no matter what Microsoft tried, it was not going to compete with iPod. Hell, even Google's made mistakes with Google+. You remember their attempt at a social network like Facebook? Because after all, who would want to copy a company that profits from selling your privacy when the owner buys a private island because he wants his privacy? Yeah, fuck you, Zuckerberg. Anyways, Google forced YouTubers into that shit years ago, and they stated that their subscription numbers were higher than anticipated. No, you basically blackmailed people into signing up for that shit because not a goddamn person wanted to use that fucking thing. Couple years later, does anyone use Google+? No, nobody gives a fuck about that shit. In all these cases, companies realize something. Trying a new product or redesigning an existing product that doesn't work doesn't need to be renamed. It needs to be dropped. New Coke was the closest example of what Bungie did with Masterwork Cores, trying to rename something to keep it relevant since they invested in it. But every other company, an overwhelming majority of bad ideas follow the same path. You drop the bullshit and you fix what's wrong. Renaming Masterwork Cores doesn't solve the problem. It pretends there's no problem to begin with. For the problem to be fixed for players, Bungie needs to do one of two things. The easiest is to just remove Masterwork Cores from Infusion and only keep them at making something a Masterwork gun or armor. The other option is having Masterwork Cores drop more often from more places, but that doesn't entirely solve the rank up issue. It just puts a band-aid on it. Right now, Masterwork Cores are an Arch Deluxe with status fries, drinking down a New Coke, listening to your Zune, browsing Google+. It's a shitty way to treat players at this point, and laughably, it ignores the issue the Infusion system has right now. The Infusion system could be better. The rank up and power system needs to be improved, but instead, what do? Let's just rename the fucking thing and hope people don't notice this motherfucker. As much as I said Infusion wasn't a problem, Bungie went out and made it a bigger problem by saying they're going to rename the fucking thing. They could have just left it alone, but nope, they had to go out, be a badass, and fuck it up even worse. For this point, it shows companies just don't learn from past mistakes. All you had to do was remove it, and things would have been a lot better. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.